Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to another episode of Unqualified Advice. Today's question is, what books would you recommend? Although that's a summary of the question, it was slightly longer than that. Well, the first thing is I would recommend books kind of like this. Like, if it has to have a lot of pages. Lots of pages. If it doesn't have a lot of pages, it's probably not such a good book. But there are some exceptions to that. Generally, you don't want to go below this number of pages. This is about 200. Preferably you want to go, significantly above that, 300 to 1,000 or more. Because that makes the books better, just being really long. I would also recommend reading books about things that couldn't actually happen, because I generally think those are better, although I recently read a series of books about things that could theoretically actually happen that were pretty good. Although they weren't actually a series, but some books. But generally, things that can't actually happen are good. Another thing that's very important is to make sure the book has a pretty cover. Like this. Look at that guy. I picked this book because the cover was pretty. I really did, actually. I mean, I also, read the back, but if the cover hadn't been pretty, I would have been like, meh. So anyway, the inside was also about as good as the cover, so that's convenient. It doesn't usually happen, but sometimes people judge books by their covers. That's the only way you can do it, unless you read the whole book, which you can't do at the bookstore. They don't like that. I haven't actually tried reading a whole book at the bookstore, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like it. I guess you could do that at the library, though. I don't really go to the library. Maybe I should. Another important thing is to make sure it's not by somebody who writes literature, because, obviously literature is no good. And it's good if they have, a pretentious name. Like, they should have 2 first names, and they should both be, just a single letter. Like, actually, 2 or more. Like you have J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. I mean, those are obviously, very good authors, because they can't even tell you their first name just because they're just so good at writing. L.E. Modesitt Jr. Jr. is also a good thing. It's just more. If you can say their name in a few syllables, it's probably not really worth it. Here's another example. J.K. Rowling. Let me look through more books to see if I can find any other authors who fit the criteria. C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien. He has 3 things. That makes him 50% better than most authors. If you can't get an author who has 2 first names that are abbreviations, you can at least get one that has first, middle, and last, and the middle one being an abbreviation. Simon R. Green, Peter S. Beagle, A. E. Van Vogt. That's a lot of names. He must be great. I haven't actually read this, but it's bound to be good with that many names. Raymond E. Feist, Stephen R. Donaldson. If you can't find any books by people with lots of names and abbreviations, you should go for books written by people named David. David Farland, David Fentook. I haven't read this either, so. And David Gemmell. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other Davids. You should read everything by them too. After you've read everything by people with multiple first names and then people with middle names that are abbreviated in both cases. And always remember, if the book isn't more than 600 pages, it's probably not worth your copious amounts of time. Yeah. An exception to the abbreviation rule is people like Orson Scott Card, which still have 3 names, but he doesn't have any abbreviations. Still, it works. Thank you for watching this episode of Unqualified Advice. Hopefully you'll make good book choices based primarily on the covers and the author's names. Also, whether or not stuff could have happened. Until next time, this has been Unqualified Advice, and I have answered a question.